Example number 1. Find the width of floor space covered by 34 boards with 7 3/4 inch exposed surface each. So anytime you solve a problem and you're not sure what you're supposed to do, one thing you might do is just draw a sketch and see if you can figure out what's going on. So if we think of a floor that's covered with boards, they're telling us that each of these boards is 7 3/4 inches each. So eventually we would end up adding 7 3/4 34 times, but a faster way to get 34 7 3/4 is to multiply. So 7 3/4 times 34 over 1. And when you multiply, you always have to multiply with improper fractions. So if I have A, B over C, it's A times C plus B over C. So 7 times 4, 28 plus 3, 31 over 4 times 34 over 1. Now the fraction rule, A over B times C over D, is to multiply across the top and multiply across the bottom, and then you have to reduce to lowest terms. Or if you see anything from the bottom that has a factor that's the same as something in the numerator, you can reduce even though they're not directly on top of each other. So for example, I can divide this by 2 as long as I divide this by 2, one from the top and one from the bottom, and that's going to give me 31 over 2 times 17 over 1, and then 31 times 17 is 527 over 2. Now we would never go to Home Depot or some other hardware place and say we need 527 over 2 inches of anything. What we would do is we would divide 2 into 527, and if we have a remainder, it would be 1/2. So the answer would be 263 and 1/2. When you divide 527 by 2, it's 263 and 1/2. So that means that this entire floor covered with 34 of these 7 3/4 inch boards will cover 263 and 1/2 inches. Example 2. Shingles are laid so that 5 inches or 5/12 of a foot are exposed in each layer. How many feet will be covered by 28 courses? So when you have a row of shingles, let's draw a roof. Each one of these rows has a certain amount of shingle that is hidden underneath. So here are your shingles. And then your next row like this. Next row like this. Each one of these is called a course. Okay? Each of these is called a course. And this row is overlapping this row. So there's a certain amount. Here's this first shingle here that's underneath, right? So that part doesn't show. But this part, they say there's 5 inches, which is 5/12 of a foot. Okay? 5/12 of a foot. And they want this in feet, so we have to use the foot measurement. Now, I've only shown just a few courses for this roof, but they've got 28 of these where 5/12 of a foot is showing. So we'll have to multiply 5/12 times 28 over 1. And I could reduce, but I'll just go ahead and multiply 5 times 28. That's 140. 140 over 12. Well, 12 goes into 140. 12 into 14 is 1. Bring down the 2, bring down the 0. 12 goes into 20, also 1. 1 times 12 is 12. 8 left, so it's 11 and 8/12. And 8/12 reduces to 2/3. So it's 11 and 2/3 feet. 11 and 2/3 feet is this total amount of roof that has been covered by the 28 courses. Example number 3. What length of a 2x4 material will be required to make 12 bench legs, each 16 3/8 inches long? Now, this 2x4 here is descriptive, okay? So we're not going to use the 2 or the 4. We know we need 12 of these legs. Each one is that long, so we're going to have to do 12 times 16 3/8. So that's going to be 12 over 1 times 16 times 8 is 128 plus 3 is 131 over 8. 12 times 131 is 1572 over 8. To change this back to a fraction, we'll use long division. 8 goes into 15 one times, so that's an 8, and it's basically an 800, so I'm subtracting 772. 8 goes into 77 9 times. 8 times 9 is 72, so basically 720. Subtract, I get 52. 8 goes into 52. 6 times 8 is 48. Subtract, I get 4. 8 won't go into 4, so I make a fraction, 4/8. So it comes out to 196 1/2 inches of the material. Example number 4. If a car averages 12 1/8 miles to a gallon of gas, how many miles can it travel on 14 gallons of gas? So we're going to travel 12 1/8 miles for every gallon, and we've got 14 of those. So it's going to be 12 1/8 times 14, and that's going to be over 1. So 12 times 8 is 96, and 1 is 97/8 times 14 over 1. I'll go ahead and do some reducing here. Divide that by 2. 8 by 2 is 4. 14 by 2 is 7. So it has to be a factor from the top and the bottom. Can't do both top and top. It has to be top and bottom in order to reduce it. 97 times 7 is 679. Divided by 4. Again, I'll do long division. 4 into 679. 4 goes into 6 one time. That's like 400. That's 279 when I subtract. 4 into 27 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. That's like 240. Subtract, I get 39. Then I'm going to do 4 into 39 goes 9 times. 9 times 4 is 36. Subtract, I get 3. 4 won't go into 3. I write that as a 3/4. So our car can travel 169 3/4 miles. Example number 5. How many pounds of a liquid are contained in a barrel if the barrel holds 13 2/7 gallons and a gallon of the liquid weighs 5 2/3 pounds? So just a quick sketch again so we can figure out what it is we need to do. Inside of here, say each one of these layers is a gallon. Okay, there's going to be 13 and 2/7 of these layers, right? So if I were to count them, clearly I don't have that many shown here, but if they were totaled up, there'd be 13 and not a whole one on top of that. Each one of those is 5 2/3 pounds. So we need to multiply 13 and 2/7 times 5 2/3. We do that by making mixed numbers. 13 times 7 is 91 plus 2 is 93 over 7, and that's times 5 times 3 is 15 plus 2 is 17 over 3. I see a reduction I can do because I can divide this by 3 and this by 3. That gives me 31 over 7 times 17 over 1. 31 times 17 is 527 divided by 7. So 7 goes into 527. Let's see, 7 times 7 is 49. When I subtract that, I'll get 37. 7 goes into 37 5 times. 7 times 5 is 35. Subtract, I get 2. So 75 2/7. The barrel contains 75 2/7 pounds of the liquid material.